This is going to get numbers. This is going to get views.
This is where there's going to be 30,000 views now.
Yeah.
We are 10 seconds. We are good. Go. Thank you.
Tonight's learning should be as close to Aliyas Neshama for how he balter Chaim Shlomo ben David Ze'ev. His chos refuah shalema Yosef ben Riva Chasha. Toch Shar Chole Yisrael. Everyone who needs a refuah B'suras Tavos Tal Yidin. Okay, so let's jump right into it. No greater hachana for your Chanukah, no greater hachana for anything for that matter than the limud of the Inyan. Rabbi Yashiv's children would say that their excitement for Chanukah, their excitement for Yom Tovim was when they heard their father start learning the halachas of that Yom Tov. That was by Rabbi Yashiv. That was the hachana. So us on our level also is the limud of the Inyan. It's a wonderful, wonderful hachana. It changes the whole Yom Tov. Even just learning, taking the few blad of Masechta Shabbos and learning those blad, going through the Inyanim, makes a shina, makes a change in the whole Yom Tov. So on page 1, it's Gemara in Shabbos, Chafal from Beis. That's the sugya where Chanukah is discussed. So let's start learning the Gemara. It's underlined as an arrow on the bottom, my Chanukah. Towards the bottom, you see the underline there. Mm-hmm. So my Chanukah, what is Chanukah? Rashi explains what the Gemara's question was. Rashi on the left says, Al Ezen Neis Kavua. Because of which Neis were the Koveya did they said that Chanukah should be a Yom Tov? We'll come back to this question, what Rashi's explaining. What was the question of my Chanukah? And the Gemara answers, you know what Chanukah is? Continues the Gemara, the Tanur Rabbanan, we learned in a Brisa. The Chafei de Kislev, on the 25th day of Kislev, Yomi de Chanukah, the days of Chanukah, Tman Ye'ina, they are 8. In those 8 days, the Lo L'Mispad Bahon, we don't give any eulogy because they're happy days. The Lo L'Hisanetz Bahon, according to some Gersos, and there's no fasting. This is a Brisa found in Megillas Tanis. It's a collection of brises which was put together for during the times of Bayis Sheni, of times when Klal Yisrael was saved from a tzara or a potential tzara. So days that we rejoice, they turned them into Yom Tovim, and they had a whole list of Yom Tovim there. Some there would be no hesped, and some of them there were not only no hesped, but even no tanis. So this brise is found in Megillas Tanis. We no longer celebrate any of those Yom Tovim, says the Gemara, besides Chanukah and Purim. Those are the only 2 we have left from the whole order of Megillas Tanis. But continues the Bryce, so these days are happy days, because what happened was, Kishenichnasu, the first wide, second to wide line in the bottom, you mean, the bottom, Kishenichnasu Yevanim Le'echel. Because when the Yevanim came into the Heichel, and the Syrian Greeks came into the Heichel, Timu Kol Hashmanim, they made all the oil tameh. Sheba Heichel, that was in the base of Mikdash. They made all the oil tameh, and you see the part of their intention, which we'll see, different than other enemies of the Jewish people, but not just time to kill the Yid and not just time to destroy. It Timu Kol Hashmanim. They wanted to ruin the Avodah. Timu Kol Hashmanim. They made the oil tamei. But then the tables turned. Shagover Malchus Beis Chashmonai. But when the house of the Chashmonayim, when they overpowered the Natzchim, and they were victorious, and the miraculous war between the few Chashmonayim, V'nei Kahanim Gedolim, when they overpowered the Yevanim. Barku, they looked, they only found one little jug of oil, which was sitting there. It had the seal of the Kohen Gadol. It was clear from the seal that this had not been moved, had not even been touched. Not only was it not moved, but the Ran says because had they found it, they would have touched it, they would have opened it. So it was clear that it was still tar. But the problem with this oil was there was only enough oil there to light for one day. Nasu b'neis, and neis happened. And they lit from that one jug 8 days, the Ol Yemei Chanukah. Shana Hacheres, the next year, Kavum v'asam Yom Tovim. They were Koveya and Shemayim, they were Koveya by Chazal, Yom Tovim, v'halo v'hoda. Days of Yom Tov. Halal, to sing praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'hoda, and to give thanks. Halal literally, and hoda is al hanisim. Hoda is lighting the menorah. Okay. Many questions we can ask in the Gemara, but let's go right to the Mefarshim and we'll see the questions. Unless somebody speak up or bite, if anyone has ha'aras throughout, don't shy away from questions.
Sam,
yeah.
They touched If they would have touched that bottle, even though it was sealed, it still would be tummy?
So this is a certain tumah called tumas hesed. A tumas hesed, a zav could make tummy. And at one point they were gozer that all akum have a din of zavim, and therefore anything they would touch would become tummy. So therefore Tosa says, just in case that gzer was already in place, the seal was indicative that they hadn't even moved the barrel. It was either the jug, the way it was sealed in the ground, they could tell. Others say it was cheres, and which is a sugi b'fnei, but that's Tosas' mahalach to simplify it. Okay, so the nace is that they found the pach. The kasha is on which nace for the kover the yamtiv. You see very clear in the Gemara. The Gemara makes mention agam. When we came into the base of Mikdash and they made everything tummy, and when we won, they found the jug. You see clearly the yamtiv from the Gemara Sakasha. My Chanukah answers the Gemara for the pach shemen. And when we won the battle, they found the jug. You see what's the ikar? Is the pach shemen. Not because we won. When we won, they found the pach. So my Chanukah, and for the Gemara, the pach shemen.
Was the pach shemen in a hidden place? Like we had to find it? Was it in the place that it normally would be, or was it in a place where it had to be?
So according to Tosas, look at the bottom of Tosas. Tosas says, bikarka. Kilo, like it was in the soil. It was in the ground, which was indicative of Shlohesitu HaKli. They didn't even move the Kli. Others learn it was behind a chalon. It was behind, some other Rishonim say it was like by a window, which they hadn't touched. It was sealed, so we see that they didn't go to it. But clearly it was to a place that they didn't find. Because the Ran adds on, the mirror, he says, there's no way that if they would have seen it, they would have not cracked it open to look for money. They would have done something. Or if their intention is really to make everything tummy, why wouldn't they have done that? Clearly they didn't even find it. They didn't even touch it.
But they're overlooking the nace that we won the battle.
Yeah. And we'll come back to that. Yeah. But you see from the Gemara that's the emphasis here. And to add to that, why? Why are we somewhat overlooking the nitzachon, the victory of the battle? Let's look at page 2 of the Pnei Yeshua. Yeshua, an early Acharon. On the right side by the arrow, Ulachori Yesh Latma, one can ask a question on this sugya. We have this nace of the Pach Shemen. Kol Torah Chanei Zel Lama. What was really the need for this nace of finding the jug of oil? The tircha of us finding it, the tircha of Hashem making such a nace. Why do we need this nace? The Kaimerlin, we paskin in halacha, Tuma Hutra B'tzibur. Tuma Hutra B'tzibur means that even though normally a kohen has to be tar, the karbanas have to be tar, the kalim have to be tar, but if it's a carbon tzibur, and things are tamei, you can bring a carbon tzibur even if things are tamei. If Klal Yisrael's tamei, like b'shem and tamei, they could have used oil that's tamei. Why do we need the nace for? Now bishlam alaman damar dechuya b'tzibur nicha, acher shaper ksas. There is a sheet that holds it's not that tumah is hutter b'tzibur, which means that tumah is totally permissible when it comes to a tzibur, but it's dechuya b'tzibur. We push it away. What's the difference between the two ways? Is it that we push away the laws of tumah, or it's mamish mutter? Says the Gemara, if you have something tummy and something tar, is there an Indian to even try to find something tar? If you hold tumah dechuya b'tzibur, we push it away, but it's only bekaishi. It's with difficulty. We still prefer that you have something that's tar. But if you hold tumah hutter b'tzibur, it becomes mutter mamish. It's mutter. So if that's the case, like that shita asks the Pnei Yeshua, that when you're dealing with the tzibur, tumah is not a concern at all. Why did we need the nace of Chanukah? You're talking about the tzibur. The menorah is being lit in the base of Mikdash for all of Klal Yisrael. It's tzibur. And if that's the case, we didn't need the nace. So ask the Pnei Yeshua. The Inyanei Shas of Yosef Engel gives a teretz, a beautiful teretz. He says because Chanukah is Lashon Chinuch, is starting over. We know it's the Chanukah Samizbeach. The 25th day of Kislev really was the day that they finished building the Mishkan. The Mishkan was ready to be used on the 25th. The Medrash says, but Hashem says, no, we're going to wait till Leidas Yitzchak, we're going to wait till Rosh Chodesh Nisan. But Hashem said to the 25th day of Kislev, which felt bad, because that was the day it was finished, they wanted to be the day, don't worry, there'll be a day that you'll have your day. And that will be by Yesheni. But the story of Chanukah, 25th day of Kislev was when we won the Yevanim, and we're going to start using the base of Mikdash again. So this was a day of Chanukah's, HaMishkan Chanukah's HaMizbeach. It was a day of Hischachis, of starting again. It says again, Yashas, when you start something fresh, you don't look for Heteir. You start building a foundation, you don't look for heterim, you don't look for loopholes, you want to start in the best way possible. So if this is when Klal Yisrael is starting to use the base of Mikdash again, if this is the Chanukah Samizbeach, Tumah Hutra, Tumah Dechuya, we don't want any heterim. We want to go L'chatchila. So that's how Rabbi Yosef Engel learns, and that's why Hashem made the nace, so it should be something purely tar. That's a beautiful mahalach from the Inyanei Hashas. Pnei Yeshua says another teretz. Let's look to the bottom. He goes through back and forth, but in the interest of time, L'kach nera, I underlined it towards the bottom. L'kach nera, the next part that's underlined. It therefore appears he says like this: the ikar hanes, really, and that's why do you need the nes for? I tuma hutter b'tzibur. Really, the nes? Leinasa was done for one reason and one reason only. Elo hodia lehem for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to let Klal Yisrael know chibas hamakom aleim, the love that He has for us. We didn't need it. We didn't need the nes, but Hashem loves us, and He wanted to give us pure oil. Advice you just the Pnei Yeshua in general is not the safe you're going to go to for a nice, Dvar Torah for the Shabbos Suda, or for a drush on Shabbos afternoon when you want to show how much Hashem loves us. If you want to learn Torah and with Lamdis, that's the safer to go to. So I'm saying that to understand the terror to what he's saying. He's saying such a beautiful idea coming from the Pnei Yeshua in general with his Mahalach and learning. That wasn't like, he wasn't writing Divrei Torah in the Parsha. Everything's Torah. I'm saying that Mamash just understand what he's saying. And the Pnei Yeshua says, Elahodialem chibas hamakom aleim. Hashem was letting Klal Yisrael know how much love He has. We found many nisim that were going on in the Beis HaMikdash. The carbon aimer brought in the second day of Pesach, they never found the psul. Shtei halechem that were brought in Shavuos, the 2 loaves of bread. And since already we're coming off the hills of the Nes, Shenigalu geula shleimim yatzineim, the nitzachon that you were saying, that we have the nitzachon of Klal Yisrael yatzineim. Shayu Yisrael had been saying to Klal Yisrael, Kisva Karen Hashar Shein Lemchelik B'Lekei Yisrael. The Yavanim were saying, Klal Yisrael, say goodbye to the Torah, no more Torah. V'gozu kama shmadayos, and they were being goes as shmad, no chodesh, no Shabbos, no milah, no more mitzvahs. V'achshav shenigalu, now that we were redeemed, v'nas lehem nes, and a nes happened. Shesholtu, that now we're ruling over them. L'kach nas lehem gam kein nes, Hashem was doing another nes. Binyan haneir shu edus Yisrael, because we know that the menorah, which was constantly lit in the Beis HaMikdash, the Gemara says was testimony, shashchina sharabem, that the shchina sharab Yisrael. Kedushim nami l'niner ma'aravi, l'achar mitzvah Shimon atzadik, afilu ner ma'aravi l'pam ha'yakova, that we didn't have always after the times of Shimon atzadik. L'kach nasa lehem nes b'zeh inyan mamish. Therefore says the Pnei Yeshua. That's why Hashem made a nes with the pach shemen, ba'osan hayamim shaya Yisrael, during these days, which anyways were Yisrael. We had just been saved. We were just victorious in a battle, which is Mamish and Eis Nifla. We were having all the nisim in the Beis HaMikdash. Lahodiyah shechazur l'chibas and rishona, to show that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is back with that love that He always had for us. He's ready to show the love that He had before. Before the Yavanim came in and made everything tummy, before they made the decrees, Hashem is showing we're finished with that. We're back to hugging Klal Yisrael again. Did we need the nes? We didn't need the nes. Tumah hutter b'tzibur. But it was for one reason. Why? Lahodia lehem chibas hamakom leim, for Hashem to show that I love you. If a father, is paying tuition for his child, father is feeding a child, father supporting a child, costs many, and everyone knows the chesed where the numbers are already just for that alone. Costs a lot of money. And one day the kid comes back on a Sunday and his father bought him a watch. The kid has a watch, it's working. The new watch costs $45. And all of a sudden, the kid has such amazing gaguim from his father. He says, Daddy, why'd you get it for me? I haven't. He says, just wanted to get you something. Now, the father's paying $25,000 for tuition. He's paying for clothing. He's paying for food. He's paying for a house. He's paying a lot more than $45. What's in those $45 that everything else didn't have? He doesn't need it. And alpha pichin you got it. Brisker Rav says that when you get something for a person that they don't need, that shows love like nothing else. Because there's only one reason I'm giving it to you, to show you that I love you. Not because you need it. Every father has to get this what they need, but this you didn't need. So the Pnei Yeshua, the Nes HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling us that we're back to where we started. The love is there. Lahodiyah chibas hamakom aleim. Beis HaLevi adds another nakuda. If you look in the next page, Beis HaLevi, Mahadrim and Mahadrim. He's going on the Gemara, which maybe we'll get to in the third week. The Gemara in Mahadrim and Mahadrim. Why is it by this mitzvah of all mitzvahs you have 3 levels the Gemara gives us how to fulfill a mitzvah? The basic mitzvah. Then you have that's 1 candle. Mahadrin, 1 per person. Mahadrim and Mahadrim, which is we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You never have a mitzvah like that. We have hiddur mitzvah to buy a nice esrog. It's okay. You spend a few extra dollars. But you don't have, is that a Mahadrim and Mahadrin esrog? Is that a regular esrog? You don't have that. Why by this mitzvah you have this inyan of Mahadrin built into the mitzvah itself? It says that Beis HaLevi, he says, that which you have by Chanukah of all mitzvahs, the mitzvah, hiddur, and more hiddur. Haner, it appears, he says, Mishum de Iker HaNes, because the whole Nes itself, Tachliso, the entire purpose of the Nes, was not because we needed the Nes and not because we needed it to fulfill the mitzvah. Hayarak Mishum Hider Mitzvah L'chudah. The entire Tachlis of the Nes, we only needed the Nes to allow us to fulfill Hider. What does that mean? Lo Mishum Iker HaMitzvah, not because we needed it in order to fulfill the mitzvah. Because they found one jug of oil. They found a jug of oil. And one jug of oil, that wasn't an ace for that oil to light per se. Move down to the bottom left, right side now. That jug of oil had enough oil to light for one entire night. The Beis Levi, you know what they could have done? They had very big wicks they used to use in the Beis Hamikdash. Mishnah says they would make it from the clothing, worn out clothing of the Kohanim. They could have taken those wicks and made them an eighth of the size what they really were. And if the wicks were an eighth of the size, they would have used an eighth of the oil. That jug had a chatzi lug shemen. They normally use 3.5 lugin. Had a chatzi lug shemen. 3.5 lugin, which was enough to put a chatzi lug in each cup of oil. Now, the halach of what size the wick is, it's not ma'akiv. If they would have made small wicks, they would have fulfilled the mitzvah. There's no shear, there's no size for what the wicks have to be. It has to be a wick and it has to light. So what they could have done is kept the oil that one jug of oil, made small wicks, divided 8 ways, and it would have been enough oil. And then we didn't need the nace. We didn't need the nace of the jug lasting for 8 days. Why then did we have the nace? What did the nace allow? It was only to allow them to beautify the mitzvah. That the candles should be beautiful and big, like it always was when we lit the menorah on a normal day. Whenever they lit the menorah on a normal day, they had big wicks, and it made a big fire, and it looked beautiful. That was the need for the nace. To be makayim the mitzvah, they didn't need a nace, because they could have made small wicks. Why then did they need the nace? To make it beautiful. That means the entire nace was only for hider. If the whole nace was only to allow for hider, so when Chazal are masakin for us to do that mitzvah, so we're going to do the mitzvah ka'ein, similar to what was. And just like the whole nace was the tachlis was for hider, so too when we fulfill the mitzvah now, we have hider. Hidurim yoser mikol mitzvah. Mibakol mitzvah. More than you find by any other mitzvah. That hider is built into the mitzvah, you have by Ner Chanukah. Because the whole nace of Chanukah was for hider. We didn't need the nace otherwise, it could have had small wicks. So the Pnei Yeshua is explaining that the nace we didn't need b'chlal because tumah huter b'tzibur. And even within that, says the Beis Halevi, another level, we didn't, even once they found it, they could have then made it smaller. And again, we didn't need the nace. But what was it for? For the hider. So for Hashem to show us that He loves us, and for us to be able to beautify His mitzvahs.
How would they have known how many nights to separate to minimize the wicks?
Well, they could have learned Shulchan Aruch that Chanukah was for 8 days. How would they have known how small to make it? I guess according to Beis Halevi, they could have made the smallest size. Oh, wait. That's one malach. They could have made it smaller. But the many Rishonim learn why 8 days. Why did it take 8 days? Because the oil was found where in the city of Tekoa. Tekoa was 4 days travel, 4 days travel back, which is still an ace because that one day that they got there, they were able to crush the olives into oil. You know, when you go to Eretz Yisrael and you feel the olives in the tree, they're rock hard. There's no oils coming out. You have to put them into a vat, they ferment, and they start oozing. Okay, so it would have been an ace, but 4 days there, 4 days there. So they knew it was 8 days. According to other Rishonim, Beis Yosef learns because they were tummy mace. So they had it 7 days to become tar, and then the 8th day they can make the oil. So they knew that they were dealing with 8 days. So maybe they were divided into eight different ways. Okay. On the note of the Pnei Yeshua and the Beis Halevi, let's continue. And now we're going to learn from the Divrei Yoel, also explaining the Nes Chanukah, explaining the celebration, explaining why the Gemara stresses that the my Chanukah is because the Pach Shemen. And what was it that we're rejoicing, and what is one of the Iker Simchas of Chanukah? The bottom right side of the next page, it's the Divrei Yoel, looks like this. The truth is, miracles in the Beis Hamikdash Nisim was not the biggest amazing, it was not so much out of the ordinary. And although it was Bayis Sheni, and Bayis Sheni didn't have as many Nisim as Bayis Rishon, but the Beis Hamikdash was a place of miracles. The common Nisim Nasa Sham B'frat Menorah, many Nisim happened, specifically with the menorah, on a normal day before the Yavon. Medrash Tanchuma writes, in Parshas Tetzava, Amuv El, there were times that Dolka HaMenorah Gamshana Tmima V'yosa, there were times that the menorah went for a year straight, or more. So the menorah was Melumid B'Nisim. The menorah was something which had Nisim happening. It wasn't like the biggest shock. It didn't make the front page of the paper that, the menorah lit a long time. There were times that it went even longer than a year. Abnam, however, Ikar HaRabusa, the big Chiddush, the main Chiddush is, V'hasimcha, the main joy, B'neis Chanukah, what was the main point of the Simcha? That which Klai Yisrael had been chased out of the Beis HaMikdash. When we weren't able, we were held back from doing the avodah in the Beis HaLokeinu, in the house of Hashem. And we know it's because of the Averas of Klai Yisrael, the Yevanim were the Shluchim, but obviously it was Exer from HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klai Yisrael, that because of a specific Chet, Klai Yisrael was chased out of the Beis HaMikdash. What was the issue? Eza Pagam Bavodas. There was a Pagam. There was a blemish that we were lacking on our avodah. It wasn't 100% ratzoi, accepted, wanted, and desired by Hashem. We were lacking in our avodah. The Bach in Shulchan Aruch and Torah Tafrei Shayin writes, "The Chanukah is the Ikra Gzeira al Shehisrashal avodah." He says amazing. He says on Chanukah, the cause of the Yevanim taking over the Beis HaMikdash, of making the Beis HaMikdash tamei, was because we were weakened. We were lacking in our avodah. Aken haisa hagzer levatim in havodah. So mida connected mida. Hashem made the gzera that we couldn't do the avodah. Kedisa bebraisa, the Gemara says, shagozim laantiochas levatel hatamid. Antiochus made a gzera they can't bring the carbon tamid. Why? Well, it's Antiochus' idea. Because since Klai Yisrael was lacking in the avodah, bringing the karbanis, so mida connected mida. Hashem said, okay, no more carbon tamid. Ukishachazu b'tshuva. So when Klai Yisrael did tshuva, the kiblu aleim limser nafshim lavodah. So now when Klai Yisrael is doing tshuva and we're coming back, and they were cobbling themselves to now do the avodah in the proper way. So how then did Hashem save them? Hoshiyim Hashem Ayidei HaKohanim of the avodah, Beis Hashem. Who were the ones who brought about the Yeshua? Kohanim, because the Kohanim are the ones who do the avodah, and the Kiddush on Klai Yisrael was specifically regarding the avodah. Where? In the Beis Hashem. V'alkein, and furthermore he says, Nas Hanes Gamkim B'Neiros Tachas Hashem Nafshim Lamas Hakim Avodah. Because since they were willing to give up their lives, that Klai Yisrael should get the avodah back, dafka with something that was normally done in avodah, such as the Neiros in the Beis HaMikdash, that's how Hashem made the Neis. And that's why when Chazal made a yomtiv, they didn't make it a yomtiv of Mishta v'Simcha. They made what kind of yomtiv? A yomtiv of Lahalel Ulahodos. Lahodos is Tefillah. Avodah Shebe Leiv. Avodah. Since we were lacking in the avodah, and now when we do tshuva, Hashem brings us back the avodah. So how do we celebrate nowadays? Dafka Ayidei Avodah, which is Lahalel Ulahodos, singing and davening, and Alanisim, and lighting the menorah. That's our avodah. Al-Kain therefore says the Samar Rebbe, so now that Hashem is coming back and Hashem is having rachim on Klai Yisrael, and Hashem is going to help us overpower the enemy. Now we have the ability that we could do the avodah. Not only that, Hashem made a nes lahamti lahem shemen tar, that Hashem helped Klai Yisrael find oil that is tar, that now Klai Yisrael could light the menorah b'tara. Comes out, what was this nes? What was the tokef of the nes? What was the main point? Hari Zemora Hashem was showing us, Shemiyat and Isratza Hashem behem, that now Hashem wants them. Now Hashem wants their avodah, v'chafetz b'avodasim, He desires their avodah. Then lokein, because if He doesn't, lehem nes, lachser, lavar lefun of avodah, shein lo chafetz. If Hashem doesn't want us to do avodah, Hashem wouldn't have made a nes to give back the oil, which is used to do avodah for Him. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a nisim b'davar shein eratzon lefun of kanoda. Hashem's not going to make a nes with something that's unnecessary, something that we don't need. So if He helped us find the Pach Shemen, and if He lets the Pach Shemen light, clearly Hashem's telling Klal Yisrael, I want your avodah. I want you to come back now. Therefore, says the Divrei, from this nes of finding the Pach, Hashem was showing them from Shemayim, that now Hashem wants them. I want your avodah. And Hashem's having nachas ruach. Hashem's having nachas from Klai Yisrael's avodah. And this was the main simcha of Klai Yisrael. Al Shemasayim Ritzuyim Lefnei HaMakom Baruch Hu, that Hashem wants our ma'asim. For a Yid to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to serve Him, that's the greatest simcha. Ze'ikar ha-simcha mikol ha-simchas, this is the greatest joy of all joys. Moshekazav HaKadoshas Levi, Kedushas Levi writes, Shezeh gufa ma shemotziin chen lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that nakuda, that the Jewish people find favor in the eyes of Hashem, that Hashem wants us to serve Him, Heviyoseh simcha me'etzem ha'nes, is a greater joy than even the nes. Than even the nes happening, that's whose credit? That's Hashem. Hashem's making the nes. But the fact that Hashem's saying to you and I want you to serve me. I want to hear from you. I want you to do avodah. I want you to light a menorah. I want you to serve me. It means Hashem's telling us, I want you. That's the greatest simcha. Chanukah is Hashem telling Klal Yisrael, I want you. I want you. And that says the Kedushas Levi, and that says the Satmar Rebbe. That's the simcha of Yom Tov. V'aynu ikar abusa shalais, last paragraph now. That's the ikar abusa of the Neis Chanukah. That's the ikar chiddush of the Neis Chanukah. Chiddush meaning something different that we normally didn't have in the Beis HaMikdash. Nisim were happening. Damnim shenisim lahayir abusa Beis HaMikdash. Although nisim in general were not such a novelty in the Beis HaMikdash, it was a makam of nisim. And no other Yom Tov do we celebrate because of nisim per se. We celebrate because we were saved. We celebrate Kabbalah Sator. We don't celebrate nisim. Mikol makam ha'chashani here, it's different. Because Hashem was showing us that I want your avodah. Okay, and therefore, so even though many other nisim ended up happening, that the jug of oil lit another 7 days, but the main simcha was that we found the jug of oil, my Chanukah, the pach shemen, because that's how Hashem showed us from Shemayim Hodazu. This Nakuda, that's how Hashem showed us, by showing us the pach. If Hashem didn't want us to light, He wouldn't have showed it. Hashem saying, I want you to. I want you to. Person leaves his son the tefillins because he wants him to put them on. Person lets his son know what time Shacharis is tomorrow because the father's hoping the son will go to Shacharis. The father lets his son know that, you make a bracha on that because he's hoping the kid will make a bracha. He's sending him to yeshiva because he hopes he'll learn Torah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us the pach shemen because Hashem wants that Klal Yisrael, that that's what we should do. And that we have a greater joy than all the nisim. Now we can understand the Salka Daita of the Gemara. The Gemara says the first night of Chanukah you make 3 brachas. Second night of Chanukah you make 2 brachas. First night is Lahadlik, Shas Nisim, and Shechianu. Says the Gemara, the second day 2. Ask the Gemara, which bracha do you take away? Which bracha do we take away the day 2? First the Gemara says, V'nimat Nisa. Oh, you know which bracha we should subtract day 2? The bracha of Al Hanis of Shas Nisim. The Shayomi. Stay Shas Nisim day 1, and not the rest of Yom Tov. And then the Gemara answers back, no, we do. That means the Gemara had a havamina that we wouldn't make Shas Nisim besides the first day. Why? Because that which the menorah kept on lighting, that's not the biggest chiddush. There were many nisim that were going on in the Beis HaMikdash. So what was the main part of the nes? Hurak nes metzias apach, was because we found the jug of oil. That was only on day number 1. But Hashem showed us the nes. And Hashem showed us the pach. And Hashem showing us that I want you to do avodah. That was day 1. So I would think that maybe the second day, no more Shas Nisim. Maybe Shechianu take away because we're or a different bracha. Umeshani da'afal pikin, nonetheless, Nisa kol yom me'isei. The Gemara says, no, don't take away Shas Nisim. Because Lamaisa the nes did continue. The sof kol sof, Lamaisa, let's not forget the Yom Tov of Chanukah that we were brought up with as kids. It lived for 8 days. Kivin shenim shechoi days that nisim. Since al day that initial nes that Hashem showed us the pach shemen, and as a result of that nes, more nisim then followed. That it then lit for another extra 7 days. So therefore we include that also in the nes. And we make a Shas Nisim then also. Ikar hanes. What was the main nes? Hayirach b'yom rishon was only on day 1. That was the Ikar nes. Because that showed how beloved it is before Hashem when a Jew serves Him for us to serve Him. So like the Yeshua said, we didn't need the nes because but Hashem is showing us the chavivas that He has for us. And like the Satmar Rebbe is teaching us that the Ikar nes was to be Yom Rishon, to the point that the Gemara Havamina that we'd only make a Shas Nisim the first day. My Chanukah the Pach Shemen. Because there's a Kedusha Slavi, there's no greater simcha than Yid knowing that Hashem wants us to serve Him, that we make a difference. One of the main one of the main causes of people who are not doing what they should do, is one of the Atzis HaYetzer, the Yetzar. One of the Atzis HaYetzer is because, what's the chilek? What do I make a difference? What do my actions make a difference? So I'm going to do this. I really make a difference to so many other Yidden. I'm going to be the one? It's exactly what Hashem's telling us. Yes, we make a difference. Every single one of us, Hashem wants our avodah. Kadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, you make a difference. We all make a difference.
So, you're saying that initially we came back and then Hashem said, okay, here's the oath because you came back. So his wanting of us was triggered by our returning, or
Klal Yisrael's tshuva and v'chulo. Tachas asher heru navsham, limser navsham al avodas Hashem, he said a lashon. Tachas asher, the Bach says. They were willing to give up their life. They went and they fought, says the Chashmonayim. They gave up their life to get back to Beis HaMikdash.
to get back that. That's
to get back to the avodah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not that they physically came in to do it when it was dangerous or anything. Just fighting the Beis HaMikdash.
Fighting to be able to get back. Yeah. Kedai to learn Megillas Antiochus to see the wars in general, what the wars were like. It was unbelievable. That's it. The next page. It's the Shir Hashirim Rabbah. So now let's try to bring this Nakuda into Chanukah and every day between a Yid and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, between our connection with Hashem and the feelings Hashem has for us and the feelings we have for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's a beautiful Medrash Rabbah and Shir Hashirim. It's the second piece in the second piece. There's a halacha nasa adam isha. If a person's married v'shayim es shanim, and he's together with his wife 10 years v'lo yolad, and they don't have any children in rishai levatel, he has to try to make sure that he can fulfill the mitzvah peruvu, marry another wife min haTorah at those times, or to get a different wife in order to be mekayim the mitzvah of peruvu. Obviously halacha l'maisa, it's not exactly. One should consult with their local Orthodox Rav how one should conduct himself in such a case, but the halacha does exist. Amar Ravi. Maisa, there was a story, Be'isha Achas B'Tzidon. There was a lady in the city of Tzidon. Sheshasa Eser Shadim. She had been married to her husband for 10 years in Bala V'lo Yolada, and they were not blessed with children. Asan Gabi Reb Shimon ben Yochai, and the husband brought her to Reb Shimon ben Yochai, and Bayan Lemishtiviko Dein Midain, and they wanted to separate one from the other. It's to follow this halacha. Because maybe then they would fulfill it. If he gets remarried, she would get remarried. Maybe they'd be able to Mekayim the mitzvah peruvu. So the husband wanted. Amar Lahon, Reb Shimon Yochai said to them, Chayechem, I tell you by your life, Kishemishin is davaktem zelazeh b'maychel b'mishteh. Just like when you got married. 10 years ago, the two of you got married. And you made a celebration. There was food and there was drink. There was music and there was celebration. Kach, so too now also. Enatem isparshim. Now that you're going to get separated, you should do it. Elamitoch maychel b'mishteh. Make a celebration. There should be food, there should be drink. It should be a celebratory occasion when you make this gerushin. Halchu b'derachov, they followed the derech, they followed the counsel of Reb Shimon Yochai. V'asu la'atzman, they made for themselves yamtiv. They made a yamtiv. V'asu suda gedola, they made a big seuda, inviting everybody to their separation. V'shikarta yosemidai. And the wife made sure that he would become shikr. And she made sure to send a lot of drink over to his seat, and he became shikr. At one point of the Suda, when he was bimenucha, Amalai, he said to his wife, which was still his wife, Viti, my daughter, the lashon of chavivus, the lashon of love, look around in the house. Anything you see in this house, any one item that you want, so I allow you to pick any one thing and you could take, and then go back home to your father's house. I let you take one thing. What did she do? After her husband became shikr, he fell asleep. She told her servants and her maidservants, she hinted to them and she said, please pick up the bed that my husband's sleeping on and bring it to my father's house, with him on it. The bed with my husband. Chatzi alayla, it was the middle of the night. Ninar mishinasi, he woke up from his sleep. Given the pag chamri, once the alcohol started leaving him, he woke up. Amalai, he said to his wife, Biti, Heichanari Nasa, where am I? Amalai, she said, Bebe Saba, we're in my father's house. Amar la, he said to her, Mali lebeis avicha, why am I in your father's house? Amar la, she said, V'lokach amarta li berav, but didn't you say to me last evening, Kol chayfetz tov sheyesh bebeisi, any one item, any one thing that I desire, tluo, so I can take it, talio, so take it. L'chila beis avicha, I could go to you said I should go to my father's house? Well, I listened to what you said. Ein chayfetz tov li ba'olam yoser mimcha. There's nothing more I want in the world more than you. So I took you. The two of them went back to Reb Shimon Yochai, the husband and wife. Reb Shimon Yochai got up and he davened for them. The nifkedu and Baruch Hashem, she became uberes. The lamdecha zok the medrash it teaches you. Number one, Makadosh Baruch Hu pokirat karos, just like Hakadosh Baruch Hu can make someone barren, have a child of tzaddik and poke them out karos, so to a tzaddik. But says the medrash further, Haritvam Kavol Chomer, it's a Kavol Chomer for us. Uman Basavidam. Kavol Chomer, if a person, a human of flesh and blood, Al Sha'amar LeBasavidam Shekimosa, who says to another human, one human to a human, Ein li chayfetz ba'olam tov memcha. There's nothing I want more in the world than you. And Ayadeh, through one person saying to another and recommitting themselves and showing the other person what they mean to them, and allowing that ahava that they had, but then to grow to another level. Or digging deep within themselves to see the love that was always there, that just wasn't always apparent, wasn't always spoken out, but now it becomes clear. And as a result of that, nifkedu, such bracha came to them, they had a child. Reb Shimon Yochai the first time didn't give them a child. The second time he did. It's kavul chomer, if a yid to a yid could do that. Yisrael hamachakim l'yeshuas HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if a Jew is hoping to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the Yeshua of Hashem, and we say to Hashem, there's nothing we want in the world more than you. Allah has come of how much more so. We would then have what to rejoice about. So Kavol Chomer, if a Yid could say to another Yid, there's nothing I want more than you. And it could bring harbe bracha. So too, if a Yid says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, there's nothing I want more than you. How much bracha that will bring to that person and to Klal Yisrael. So on Chanukah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Hashem, Laharos chivasim, Hashem showing us there's nothing I want more than your love. Hashem showing us that I want your avodah. And in Chanukah, we say back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu also, there's nothing that we want more than HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how much bracha that brings. I just want to, there's a mice I saw, we're ending now. I saw this, it was a little more than a year ago. No, a few months ago, a few weeks ago.
Yes.
I didn't see it yet.
Go back to the coffee.
It's a new story. I thought it was a while ago. I've been drinking. Okay. I just woke up from my bed. So I want to read you this mice. It's a beautiful, beautiful mice. And we'll end with this. It's written from the perspective of Rabbi Rani Yitzchak Eisenman. So he's the one saying over the story. And he was at a chassan where there were two siblings, Baruch and Miriam. And they looked at a chassan. They were at a levaya of their mother, Baruch and Miriam. They looked at each other, shocked and surprised. The levaya had concluded. All that remained was the Kalmale to be said for their mother. But before the Kalmale, their father, Mr. Yosef Greenberg, he attempted to stand up from his wheelchair. Baruch and Miriam, the children, they rushed to the elderly father's side. I too, referring to this Rav, approached the frail Mr. Greenberg, glancing at his children. Our father wants to speak, said Baruch. He wants to say a hesped over our mother. Rabbi, please help us. He's in no condition to speak. Mr. Yosef Greenberg looked at me, and I saw the tracks of wrinkles that lined his face. The altar, Mr. Greenberg said, it wasn't supposed to be this way. She was only 79. I'm 10 years older. However, Hashem is the ultimate judge. As Mr. Greenberg struggled to lift himself, I asked, perhaps this will be too much for you? No, he insisted. I must say goodbye. His children pleaded with me that their father was in no condition, either physically or mentally, to say a hesped. However, Mr. Greenberg, who overheard the entire discussion, brushed aside the concerns and asserted, I must give cover to my wife. So I helped Mr. Greenberg steer his walker towards the microphone as he removed some crumbled papers from his jacket pocket. I know all of you, especially my family, are surprised by my speaking, he began. I know I now forgot more than I remember. However, I must mention one midah tova of my wife. He glanced at the folded pages in his hand. Dramatically, he allowed them to fall from his hand. When I went to pick them up, he said, leave them. I want to speak from my heart. When I was 9 years old, the 89-year-old said, my grandfather passed away. I remember the Rav saying we must learn a lesson from the Nifta to better our lives. I know I've become forgetful and may even forget today's date. However, remember the rabbi's words from 80 years ago. We can all learn an important lesson from my wife. He turned towards his children and his grandchildren, your mother and your grandmother. She excelled in the midah of listening. His family looked puzzled. I know I repeat things many times over and over. I can tell you the same story in the evening that I already told you in the morning. And I notice how impatient you get when that happens. You always tell me, Dad, Zaidi, you've told us that story 100 times already. And I know I have. Your mother's greatness was that it never mattered to her if I told her the same story repeatedly. She listened to me with rapt attention every time I told it, as if it were the first time she'd heard it. Her face retained the same excited glow. It made no difference to her how many times she had heard my Maisalach. It made me feel special, especially as I aged. Her sincere joy in listening to me was the highlight of my day. I ask this of all of you. When you hear someone like me tell a story you've already heard, don't roll your eyes in exasperation. Take a lesson from your mother. I once even asked her, how do you listen to my stories over and over and keep smiling? You know them by heart already. Yosef, she answered, each story I am privileged to hear from you is a gift from Hashem. It allows me to spend more time with you. How can I not smile? With that, Yosef shuffled back to his wheelchair. The room was utterly silent except for the sounds of sobbing heard from those closest to Yosef. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't have to give us the nace. Hashem didn't have to give us the Pach Shemen. Hashem didn't have to do anything. But Hashem did. Hashem didn't have to make Bria Sa'olam. The Reishis Bar Leikim is B'Shvil Yisrael. Shenikah Reishis Bar Leikim is Hashemayim V'Sa'aret. Hashem created for Klal Yisrael. When Klal Yisrael remembers that there's nothing Hashem wants but us, then we remember to say back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's nothing that we want but you. And like Shimon Yochai teaches us that when a Yid could say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's nothing we want but you, it brings the greatest bracha in the world. We shall be zeich in our own lives to be able to say this to the people who we love while we're still able to. Baruch Hashem, Shvarichas Yom B'Shanim. It's Hashem, we should say it to the people in our life, we should say it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we should be zeich the Gula Shleima B'Kar.